This is the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast, hosted by David Charlton, and you're listening to this podcast to help you build your own mental toughness so that you can support other people or your clients better. Either way, you will learn more about developing this plastic personality trait that all but guarantees that you will perform better and lead a more prosperous life. How are you? I hope your day has started well, or if you're approaching the end of the day, you've had a good day. For me, I'm coming out the other side of a particularly stressful period where I had an unexpected health scare. I had some serious back pain going on, and then some other personal and professional challenges. As a result, I'd had a good think about moving forward and how I actually go on to handle stress, if you like. And I've upped my exercise regime, part of one of the things there, and I've incorporated swimming into the mix. Prior to doing so, I had the mindset that swimming was boring. I didn't really want to be just going up and down, back and forth in a pool, that it wouldn't be any fun. But actually, I found it really, really helpful, quite therapeutic. I've been focused on what I need to do to get up and down the pool. I've been challenging myself to go a little bit faster, to try different breathing techniques. There's been no noise, no distractions, no phones, social media or anything. It's just me and the water. So yeah, it's been really, really helpful for me. And why I'm sharing that is because it's relevant to this episode. So it's part 5 where I've been looking at this question: what is it that you can expect when working with a sports psychologist? Where I went on to ChatGPT and picked its brains, if you like. So this little statement that came out of ChatGPT was: coping strategies. You'll develop tools to manage stress, anxiety, and pressure. Now, today, I'm not going to talk about anxiety because it's a big topic. That will come next week. Today, I'm going to look at stress and pressure. So, if we're thinking of stress and pressure, firstly, as a sports psychologist, who is it that we support? Well, yes, it's athletes, of course. It's also parents. It's sports science staff. It's anybody involved in a sporting organization, in essence. Or if you branch out into the business world, it might well be with entrepreneurs, senior managers, middle managers, or staff in general. Certainly, I've done that in the past and do so today. Today's episode, though, I'm going to talk about coach pressures and coach stressors because it's a big, big part of our role. So before we start thinking about the coach's experience, let's firstly think about the athlete's experience. Now, a good question for coaches is to think about how is it that you want your athletes to perform in a match or in training? How do you want them to behave in the match and in training too? Or if it's in a professional setting, how do you want them to behave in and around the club, in S&C sessions, in analysis, in the canteen, with the physio, and so on? And now, if we think about the nervous system in all of this, do you want their mind and their body to work in harmony? Do you want them to be free of fears, free of doubt, to access flow states more regularly? Do you want them to trust their decisions, to display positive body language, to communicate more effectively? I'd hope so. The reality is, though, that a lot of these factors are influenced by upbringing, genetics, home environment, who the athlete spends time with, their personality. They may have experienced trauma in the past. Then you've got their form, results, the culture of the club or the organization they're involved with, and of course, you, the coach, the way you behave and the way that you communicate. And again, thinking about athletes, many athletes put coaches on a pedestal. They hang on to their every word, how they communicate, their tone of voice, they pinpoint specific words, they look at their facial expressions, their body language. This can really influence athletes and players. And especially so for those that are sensitive. Perhaps they might be going through a bad run of form. They might be struggling off the pitch or off the court, just simply having a rough time. It is worth bearing in mind that, yeah, you are, as a coach, in a very, very powerful position. Yet the landscape is very, very complex. So, yeah, I think it's fair to say, as a coach, you've got a tough gig. That's right. So now we're going to look at pressure. That's right, pressure for coaches. Where does it come from, I wonder? Well, you've got the athletes, haven't you? You're trying to manage athletes or players' expectations. You've got conflict. You've got their personalities, the different goals that they set for themselves and their priorities. Then you've got managing upstairs, so senior management, owners, and again, their expectations and their viewpoints and the way that they communicate with you. You've got your own colleagues, coaching colleagues, and then the staff in your club or your organisation. And again, they'll have their personalities, their expectations. Disagreements will happen. In youth sport, you've got the added demand of emotional parents, or maybe non-emotional parents, but parents who've got expectations and again, their personalities, their goals for their child. And that's without thinking about self-imposed pressures and expectations that you have on your own ability to deal with certain situations, to deal with pressure, your own personality, genetics, your home life, who it is that you're spending time with. Then you've got league positions, how that makes you feel. You've got results and how that enhances or has a big impact negatively on the way you feel about yourself. So that's right, how you view yourself as a coach, in your identity. It's all wrapped around how you deal with pressure. Now we're going to have a look at stress. What is psychological stress? Well, Lazarus and Folkman, they've done some research which looks at the transactional theory of stress. And this views stress as a process that involves individuals' transactions with their environment, making sense of situations that they find themselves in, and then attempting to cope with them. And this is where I'm going to begin to try and help you now. So something for you to consider as a coach around stress and around pressure. I'm wondering, do you spend a lot of time with your sympathetic nervous system activated, switched on, where you're in a fight or flight state? What do I mean by that? Well, is your heart rate increased and your blood pressure? Is your breathing more rapid? Are you more aroused and highly alert? And if so, what is causing this? Does it impact your mood? Does it impact your memory and your ability to recall things? Does it impact and influence your sleep quality too? More questions. Is the way that you structure your day, structure your coaching, or the environment, is it actually helping you or is it hindering you? Is it putting this sympathetic nervous system on high alert, I wonder? That's something I would really consider for you as a coach. And if you went on to change things up ever so slightly, as you would hope an athlete would do if they were out of form and things weren't working for them, what could happen? That's what we're going to explore next. So if we think about the athlete in the zone, what would your zone look like? How would your coaching change? Would you be more relaxed? Would your sessions be planned more carefully and be more future orientated? Would tactics be cleverly considered? They wouldn't be just simply reactive and emotionally driven. Would analysis be conducted differently in a balanced and more relaxed way, perhaps? And then would good, clear communication and collaboration with athletes be something that you begin to focus on? You wouldn't necessarily just rush conversations. And then when we think about the online communications, so WhatsApp groups, if you were in this calmer state in the zone, would you respond the way you currently do in WhatsApp groups, I wonder? On the training pitch, what would be different? Would sessions be a bit more fun? Would you be really thinking out carefully the challenges that you're going to set players? And then moving on to match day or competitions. So if the parasympathetic nervous system was more in line, you're more relaxed, you're in this flow state, how would match days and the build up to match days pan out? So if you're a team sport coach there, how would you communicate team selection? Would that differ? How would you go on to navigate difficult conversations with players and athletes if you're in that calmer state? And on a match day, if you were in control of your emotions, your energy level was high, your body language was good, what would have to change for you, I wonder? What is it you could do to help yourself? And when we consider team talks before a game, at halftime, and then discussions after a game, if you were in that calmer, more controlled state, how would things change? Would you perhaps give less instructions or more instructions? What would your preference be? Would the halftime team talk be an emotional rant, or would it be a carefully thought out emotional rant, if you like? Or when you consider where you are right now, are you driven by fear, I wonder? So yeah, you'll be able to tell in this episode I'm posing lots of questions. And fear of failure, fear of consequences, fear of judgment, fear of pain, fear of rejection, fear of regret. Please do ask yourself some of these questions and how they go on to influence your coaching. The great thing that you can do is consider, what is it that you do fear as a coach? Feel free to pause this episode, get a pen and paper out, or at the end of the episode, get the pen and paper out. What is it that you fear? And then how does that impact your state? How does that impact your behaviors, your interactions? How does it impact whether your sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system kicks in? Certainly lots to think about there, coaches. I sincerely hope that you've enjoyed this episode. It's given you a lot of food for thought. Next week, I'm going to be looking at anxiety and then how that goes on to influence coaches and athletes too. And I'll hand over some coping strategies to boot too. In the meantime, enjoy your day or your evening if it's towards the end of the day. Take care. If you enjoyed this episode of the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast with David Charlton, do check out my website, sport-excellence.co.uk, and my online sports psychology resources. The Sport Excellence website has essential resources for anyone looking to build their own mental toughness or the mental toughness of their athletes or teams, or if you want to achieve peak performance more often or optimal functioning. The Sport Excellence website has everything you need to keep moving forward and thrive. So go on, head over to sport-excellence.co.uk to find out more.